The following is intended for mature audiences only. Discretion is advised.
This is a Geek Bro podcast. What's up, besties? This is episode 50, Tree 63 of Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes, and I am still the second part of that title. I hope you're doing well this week. I'm so thankful that you're joining us. I'm so excited about today's episode. Today's episode is Alyssa Merwin. Alyssa is a writer and the digital creator of tch.rising on Instagram, and she's also the co-host of the Hollywood Signs podcast. We had a really great conversation. I actually heard Alyssa's interview on one of my favorite podcasts, Good Christian Fun, and I reached out to her and asked her if she wanted to be on Childlike at Best, and she agreed to be on it, so I'm very thankful and grateful to her for being on and for being silly with me for a little while. We had such a great conversation just about growing up in a spiritual bubble and what that looks like now as adults. And we had a lot of really good laughs along the way. I really think that you guys are going to love this episode. So without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Alyssa Merwin. So anything special that's been going on today for you?
No.
just hanging out?
Work, just like normal stuff, you know.
Yeah.
A normal hot day out here.
Where are you at now?
I'm in LA.
You're in LA. Okay.
Yeah.
It, like close to where the gender reveal fire was, or?
I don't know which fire that was. I think that one was near me. But yeah, I think that was closer to me. A lot of dumb people around here.
Yeah. People are pretty crazy.
I don't even know why people are having parties at all. And
yeah.
Gender reveal party. It's like,
yeah.
And I go back to that baby now.
Yeah. How LA is it that you're going to have a party when you haven't even shown up yet? Like, that's so LA.
That is fair.
Yeah. I'm going to throw a party 9 months before I show up.
Oh my gosh. Truly.
Whereabouts did you grow up, Alyssa?
I grew up near Daytona. So by the beach. And I was in Orlando a lot. But yeah, that's where I grew up.
That's interesting. So did you move from Daytona to Orlando, or you were just in Orlando a bunch for different reasons?
I was a part of like a church that was like a part of like different cities. So I was just had a lot of friends in like neighboring cities because I would it was all homeschooled kids that all like kind of knew each other. So, but I mean, I went to college in Orlando.
This is going to be an interesting question because the next question I usually ask is what kind of a kid were you in school? But you were homeschooled. Yeah. So you were like, I was a regular daughter.
Well, honestly, I wasn't though. Well, actually I was, but I guess I thought I wasn't.
Sure.
Because I have a twin sister and she was always very normal and I just wasn't. She just never really got in trouble. She never really questioned authority. She just wasn't that kind of person. Right. And I am. So I got into a lot of trouble for that. But I also felt really guilty for doing anything. So it was like I couldn't even like stray from that because I was so like just guilt ridden.
Sure.
So that kind of kept me in line for a long time, which, you know, kept me out of trouble for the most part, but it also like made me feel very just isolated.
Absolutely. What upbringing did you have? Just regular Christian or?
It was like evangelical. Yeah. Well, we would say non-denominational, but it's,
sure.
I don't really even know what that means.
I feel like that's like the cop out for saying that you're Baptist because like it's like that joke where like you say you're an agnostic because you're afraid that God's going to be mad at you if you're an atheist, like that kind of thing. So it's like, yeah, we're non-denominational, but we really do technically not believe in drums, you know? Yeah.
Like it was a lot of those charismatic where it was like speaking in tongues and all that sort of thing, which was a lot for me to process.
Yeah.
I don't know what denomination that really aligns itself with. That's why
weird.
Weird, yeah. Weird. It's very strange. Just like it very like showy, which I don't like.
Yeah. Did that weird you out?
Oh yeah, I was not on board with that. I was really uncomfortable with it, and I was just like, "There's just no way that this is right."
Yeah, me too, man. It's so weird, and I'm sure you have this feeling as well, where like you would feel guilt because you feel weird.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's like, I don't know if this rings true to you too, but like I feel like every church has a scary picture of Jesus in it somewhere. And like, I would always see it and I would feel scared, but then I'd feel bad that I'm scared because it's Jesus. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like, totally. But it's a scary picture. You know what I mean? Like,
it's supposed to bring out those feelings in you and then you feel guilty about feeling them. That's not fair.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I felt about speaking in tongues, where people are like getting hit with the spirit or whatever the case. And look, man, do you, like, if it makes you happy, it makes you happy, but it makes me feel weird. And I've been avoiding those feelings. Like, to me, there's no difference between that and like a seance. Like, I would feel just as weird, you know?
Yeah. Because I've done that kind of stuff because I am into like that whole scene because I do like astrology stuff, but I do feel kind of uncomfortable with that stuff too. Any kind of like ritualistic thing sort of is weird to me just because, and I don't think it's like, that's not for everybody. I mean, if that works for people, that's fine. It's just like, for me, it makes me uncomfortable because it does kind of remind me of the stuff that I don't like about my childhood. Yeah. But yeah, I haven't thought of it that way because I don't really even consider myself a very spiritual person. Which I know a lot of people say that, where they're like not religious, but they're spiritual. I think of myself as more religious because I think because when you do something religiously, it's like a practice. And I believe in practicing, you know, a lot of the things that the Bible says. And I don't agree with a lot of the things that it says, but religion sounds like it lines up more with how I feel and how I like plan out, you know, my life and how I see my life going, than like kind of hoping everything will be for the best. Because you kind of have to work for things to, you know, and a lot of like Christians will be like, something good happens and they're like, God did this. I'm like, no, you did that. You made something good out of something bad. It's like, it's not God, not necessarily God, like doing something to make it this way. Like, you did this, and you should take some kind of pride in that, I think. But it's complicated.
No, I actually completely agree with you, because you're touching on something that is so accurate, because it's like, if you get that job opportunity, glory be to God. But if you didn't, then it's like because God has something better for you. You know?
There's always a way out of any kind of accountability when it comes to that. It's like, well, because it's always God is good no matter what. And I don't think that's a healthy way to look at things necessarily.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think the healthiest way to look at it, if you're going to look at it like that, is like, sure, give glory to God for the good, for giving you the talent, for giving you the opportunity, for giving you whatever. But first of all, it was you at the end of the day. It was, you know, because you went through other people, and those people, you know, and it's just like, and you don't know what their beliefs are. Like, it's just, there's so many different things. Like, there's
different people too, like different people that help with your success too. So it's like, if you're just saying it's all God, it's like you're forgetting the people that helped you get to where you are.
Exactly. It's weird because I went to a Christian school, so I thought I was in a bubble. But like, I guess being homeschooled and then going to church is like a smaller bubble in that bubble.
I mean, how many people were in your class?
Ours was one of the biggest at the time, and it was like 100.
Okay. So like, that's really small.
For a Christian school, it's pretty small. Or actually, it's pretty big for a Christian school. For a public school, it's enormously small.
Yeah, because I mean, the only other people I would really see were other homeschooled kids.
Sure.
So it was all just, and it was kind of like, once you started going to like a traditional school, it was sort of like, it was like considered a bad thing, or it's kind of seen as like a bad thing. I think it was just like, you know, you're not honoring God if you're a woman who's not at home with her kids, which is like so classist and like sexist and like so many things. And it's like, that's just what it felt like.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I had a lot of good times at church too. I mean, the best times I had at church was like when I would bring my Pokemon cards and we would trade Pokemon cards. And then I'd just be like, oh my God, when is the sermon going to be over? I just want to trade Pokemon cards.
Sure.
Or whatever.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's funny. You're like kind of embarrassed by talking about this, it looks like, but there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Cause like, if you're a youth pastor and you think that those kids aren't at least thinking, where are we going to eat after this? You have something wrong with your brain. Like no one cares what you're talking about, you know?
It always made it seem like all the other kids that were my age were like, they were in it. They were on fire for God. They were.
You think so?
That's what it seemed like. It always seemed like they were just had this sort of spiritual, religious, I don't know, energy that.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get excited about it. Then I felt guilty about that.
Sure. Did you have an issue like lifting your hands up during worship and stuff?
Oh yeah. It's so performative. I just felt gross doing it. It felt weird. There were people asking, like, why isn't your daughter, went to my parents, like, well, you know, what are you doing about, you know, your daughter not raising her hands during church? I'm like, I don't know. So it's like, there's pressure for them from other people. So I understand why they put pressure on me.
I get that. And it's funny looking back at it now because I'm from Miami. And so like it wasn't necessarily just lifting up your hands. It was like jumping and like also dancing. So like in my head, it was like, oh, you have to make a scene. Like to prove that you're a Christian to these other people. To me, it's like, why do I have to prove to other people what I believe?
Yeah, it shouldn't be about that at all.
And granted, who knows if that's what it actually was, or if it was my feelings being, they expect me to do this, or they want me to do this. And like, maybe they didn't care. Maybe they were thinking the same thing about themselves. Because at the end of the day, one of the biggest problems a lot of us have, especially as performers, is we think so much about what everyone thinks, but 99% of the time, they're just thinking about themselves. Yeah. Like, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
You know?
I also think though that, like, you know, there's sometimes when you think of yourself doing something dumb and then you're like, no one else thinks of this. I'm the only one. But then you think of something that someone else did that was dumb. And then you're like, that was like so embarrassing for them.
Sure.
And I'm like, I would hate, and then I think about like, I would hate to be that person. But then I think about like, who the fuck cares?
Exactly.
Because I'm just like, if that's the worst thing, like that's what I'm scared of, that doesn't really bother me. I'm trying to get over the thought that I exist in other people's heads, but
no, look, it's definitely healthy to think that you exist in people's head.
Yeah, I don't like
people do think of you.
People can perceive in any way. Yeah. I want to be like a cloud of smoke.
Yeah, people do think of you. They just don't obsess over you as much as you think that they do. Mm-hmm. You know. Exactly. Unless there's like that like really minute number of people, and those people are weird and they're serial killers, but that's okay. Hopefully they'll be in jail soon, and we'll worry about that later. But for the most part, most people are just thinking about themselves. But being in this bubble, what was your pop culture like?
It was mostly Christian stuff. It was Christian stuff and, you know, just stuff that my parents liked. And it was like, it's fine because we like this stuff. And, you know,
I relate to that.
And growing up, I guess a big thing for me was listening to Adventures in Odyssey.
Sure. Mr. Whitaker and his gang.
Mr. Whitaker.
I don't know why you're so embarrassed.
It's so funny. Like, I was just, I don't know. I've been reminiscing about all that stuff lately.
It's so bad, dude.
It's so bad. And you know what? I realized later that like a lot of the storylines are like just straight up stolen from like sitcoms. Oh, I didn't even realize that as a kid until I was like watching Frasier, and I was like, this is a plot on Adventures in Odyssey.
Yeah. Were they, or did Frasier take it from Adventures in Odyssey?
Yeah. Like, that was what it was.
listening to Adventures in Odyssey might be embarrassing to you. I'm going to out myself for a minute here. I listen to a podcast specifically because the host sounds like Mr. Whitaker, and it reminds me of him. So I'm like, oh man, this voice, I don't know what it is, but it brings me so much peace. And then after like a year of listening to it, I go, it's because he sounds like Mr. Whitaker from Adventures in Odyssey.
Wait, who is this person? I want to listen to it.
He's actually a really sweet guy. He has a podcast called Drunk on Disney. It's a Disney podcast if you like theme parks, and it's Dana Schneider, and he's the host of it. And oh my gosh, it's so great. I love it. Just imagine if Mr. Whitaker knew way too much about Disney.
And wasn't homophobic.
Yes. Exactly.
I don't know, probably racist. Who knows?
No. Well, I mean, who knows? Mr. Whitaker probably. But, I know one of the, weirdly enough, one of the voices in Adventures in Odyssey, not Mr. Whitaker, but like one of the random kids, was the voice of Wacko on Animaniacs, which is kind of insane. Yeah. They're all just voice actors, man. Like, they're just trying to make money. Like,
and I guess, yeah, I mean, I didn't even really think about how much I used to like dramatize like audio things, because I don't anymore. I don't listen to fictional narrative type things.
It's funny because we give so much grief to Christian music and Christian movies, especially, mostly music, for like getting into whatever was popular 15 years ago. Like right now, Christian music is really into Bruno Mars. And you're just like, all right, dude, this was like freaking forever ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're a little behind.
Yeah. And like 3 years ago, Mumford and Sons hit Christian music for the first time, and everything had like a banjo in it, and you heard people singing Ho and Hey from 3 other rooms, like.
Oh my God.
But one thing that the Christian pop culture has always gotten that is now popular is radio dramatization and canceling people. That has always been Christian stuff since day one.
That's so true. Wow. They really do.
Yeah. Christians are all about canceling people, dude.
Like, you're done. Get out.
That's why it doesn't scare me. Like, I've been, if I could live through the church, I'm not getting canceled.
Right? That's so true. I was canceled by the church, and that was hard enough.
Sure. Yeah, we all were. If we had a normal thought, we were all canceled.
That's very true.
Because nobody wants to answer I don't know, which is a completely okay answer sometimes. Like, sometimes you just don't know.
And it feels good to be like, I don't know. Just I don't know. I don't have to know. Maybe my brain's too small to understand these big thoughts, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest...
how the universe get here. Like my brain, it's like, it can only do so much. Like, I know my limitations.
I can only answer these 10 questions and remember the lyrics to the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers theme song. Like, that's all I can do. Those
are valuable skills.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like understanding the origins of the universe, it's not gonna work.
Exactly.
And it feels nice to know that and to just accept it.
So you were into Mr. Whitaker. What else were you into?
When I became a teenager, I started to get more into like music, and like I was into some my parents had to all of my music. My first ever album was, I think, Rachel Lampa, which nobody knows. Like, even in the Christian community, a lot of people don't know Rachel Lampa.
Yeah, I know. A lot of normal people don't know.
Normal people don't know.
Yeah. He came to the only podcast where one person who isn't Rachel Lampa knows who she is.
And then, and I was into Zoe Girl, Barlow Girl, but then my friend gave me a Reliant K CD, and it was their first album, and I loved it so much. And then like every week, like she would give me like let me borrow another album. So then but I think that they had just released and that was when I got really into it. But I got into Switchfoot and a lot of other stuff.
Those are the secret Christian bands.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Relient K, not as much when they started, but the on was very like sprinkles of Christian. You can listen to most of their stuff. I would say like Relient K is a lot like this. Switchfoot's a lot like this. Under Oath was a lot like this, where like you could listen to almost an entire album and then you get to their last song and you're like, wait a second, is this a Christian band? Like,
they'd have some really like soft song at the end. Yeah.
And Jesus, I'm ready to come. You know, it took 10 songs, but they're a Christian band. That was a time, man, that like, are we a Warped Tour band or are we a Christian band? Like technically kind of a thing. But
Paramore, because I walked that line and I walked it hard when it came to like Christian music and secular music. And I remember Paramore was a big one for me. Yeah. It was like, is it Christian? Is it not Christian? Are they Christian? Whatever. And I don't know why there was, for a lot, what was the reason like that there were they never made like a Christian song, did they?
No.
I don't think they did.
No.
I don't know
I
where
think
they
everybody just assumed they were because they were from Franklin, Tennessee, and like who isn't a Christian if you live in Franklin, Tennessee? You know?
Fair. What, 2007, 2006, 2007?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a good time for like alternative Christian music, I think.
Yeah,
like there was some
agreed.
good stuff. Like I liked some of like the smaller bands like House of Heroes or like Wedding or The Almost, or I guess The Almost was like bigger because of Under Oath, Falling Up, or Family Force 5, of course.
Yeah, you were into the Tooth and Nail bands.
Yeah,
for the most part.
A lot of that.
Yeah. Family Force 5, clearly. For the listener that hasn't listened to your Good Christian Fun episode, you guys talked about Family Force 5.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that is a really fun band. They, I don't know.
It was fun. It was fun. Like they knew how to put on a good show, and
I agree.
Was awesome fun.
One thing that I can never get out of my head is whenever, and it could be because I'm a musician, but part of it could just be because I'm a visual person as well. But after I saw them live, I can never listen to their drums without seeing their drummer humping the drum set.
Yeah,
because that's like what he did.
I remember. Oh my God! I can't believe I forgot about the drum humping.
Oh, all he did was hump that drum set. It was ridiculous. Like if you could say two things about Family Force 5, it would be glitter pants and humping the drums.
Man, that completely went out. I smoke a lot of weed, so I forget a lot. My brain just conveniently forgot about the drum humping.
Did you remember the Hulk hands?
Yes. Oh my God, the Hulk hands. And I watched all of their
vlog stuff that they did for MySpace.
They did the MySpace videos. It was like a good strategy to make people feel like they were like, you know, that was like a big thing. It's like with like smaller bands, you wanted to feel like you were like a part of it when they were like touring, especially if they were just like starting out and just on buses or whatever. And
sure.
Like, it kind of made you feel like you were a part of something, especially, and that's like really appealing to me because I felt like I was a part of like nothing.
Right. They're an interesting band to me because quite literally they are dancing on the line of what is not okay, but okay in church. You know, like they're like dancing on that line a little bit. Yeah. Where it's like, we're talking about cars and dancing and like all this stuff, but we're not talking about premarital sex. We're not talking about drugs. We're not talking about the horrible things, but we are talking about materialism and all these other things, you know? And as a 13-year-old person who goes to youth group, you're like, this is cool. You know what I mean? And you're just like, this is everything to me because like it's everything I didn't think I was allowed to listen to, but somehow I am, you know? And then, you know, when you're kind of out of that for a second, this happened to me. This is a personal story that happened to me. I saw Family Force 5 when they were like their biggest, like doing like some church convention, and it was like an arena, and like they came out with the giant clear ball and like, you know, all these different, you know, the trampolines and like all these different, you know, gimmicks that they did. They were all humping their instruments and like and all this stuff. And that same summer they went to Warped Tour, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna go see Family Force 5. Their show is so great. And so I went to Family Force 5's show. They weren't on the main stage. They were on like the freaking like Ernie Ball like fart stage or whatever it was called. And then there was like maybe 6 people there. And then they were like, hey guys, we're going to be at our merch table or whatever, like signing autographs. And I passed their tent and there wasn't a soul around them. And so in my head, I felt horrible, but like in my head, I had this realization where it's like, yeah, to a specific audience, you're gods. But like when you go out into the real world, it's just
really
kind of
cool.
corny. You know what I mean? Like,
because Christianity is kind of just like inherently corny.
yeah. There isn't the only cool thing you can do in Christianity is maybe ghost ride the whip. Like that's pretty much it. And that's one of your songs. So that's yeah.
But I think that they're doing sort of a service to those kids who don't have like an outlet to express themselves in that way. And they did that for me. So
yeah. Of course, I agree. I mean, the best of the best, in my opinion, being Switchfoot out of those bands, because like John Foreman is just a good songwriter. Mm-hmm. Like he kind of takes that whole C.S. Lewis thing. A Christian shoemaker doesn't prove that he's a Christian by putting crosses in shoes. He just makes good shoes.
Yeah,
and
totally.
That's what your job is. Your job is not. I love
that way of thinking, and that's how I always felt about. I mean, because I'm a big, actually, even though I'm not really Christian, I'm still a fan of C.S. Lewis because I just really enjoy his books. Narnia was like a really big thing for me. It's like kind of why I started writing. I mean, it is why I started writing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I just liked the idea of having really complicated ideas in kids' stories and like in things that are like accessible.
Yeah, and not treat kids like they were dumb.
Yeah, and like not shoving it down your throat either. Like not preachy or whatever. Just a story that helps you grasp things that are just complicated and just. You know, your brain when you're a kid is just like concepts like hell and death and God and all these things are just so difficult. Yeah, it's so scary. And it just made it easier for my brain to just sort of be like at ease with it, I think. And I like that idea of having important messages. I really dislike people. I know a lot of people who are like progressive who reprimand a lot of people who are conservative or whatever for always watching stuff with people just yelling at them to sit their opinions back at them. And I'm like, but you do it too. Like Bill Mayer does that, or however you say his name. I don't even know. Sure. But they all do that. Like all those people do it, and it's not getting anywhere. The message isn't getting anywhere because it's stopping with you because you already agree with all these things. So you're just getting angry. Yeah. Like, why don't people agree with these things when you really need to think about why people don't agree with it and like how you can understand that and sort of be compassionate. And sometimes not compassionate because some people, you know, they just don't have it. Like you can see where they're coming from and you're like, no, feel bad.
Well, and it's funny that you touch on that because I feel like that concept is the concept of Christian movies. Christian movies are made for people that want to hear the message that they already know, and it's just validating that message. Uh-huh. You know what I mean? And it's just, I don't know if you've seen it, and I don't blame you if you haven't. There's a movie called God's Not Dead, and
I've heard of it.
It's basically this movie about like a kid who's a Christian and he has a class and his professor's like, God's not real and like all this stuff, which like, let's be honest, if you're a Christian, what's scarier? Not monsters. It's an atheist because they're not people. They're atheists, you know? So essentially the movie is like this weird revenge fantasy. It's like allowing the audience that's watching it, who is 99% Christians. I'm assuming the 1% is like the boyfriends or girlfriends that were taken by their by their significant other to try to get them saved for whatever reason, you know. And it's just like the rest of it is just like, oh, that's a good point. I'm going to put that in my back pocket in case an atheist ever says that to me. And I'm going to put that in my back pocket. And it's like, bro, this isn't what we're supposed to do. Like, this isn't, if you really believe in a Jesus that was loving, Jesus would not go watch these movies to learn how to shut people up about stuff. He would just talk to people and love them. That's it. It's as simple as that.
It's
you know
really
what I mean?
But people want to feel superior to others. And they have all these, like, if you do this, then you're bad. If you do this, then you're bad. And it's easy for people to just have the black and white, but life isn't that way. Like, you know, sometimes it's like something that's bad, you think it's bad, isn't, you know, and I'm talking about things that, like, people that who nitpick, you know, all these things, like, you know, sort of infighting that's like, we're on the same side. Like, why are we arguing about this small thing? Accurate. I don't want to be just like surrounded by people who just agree with me. I just want to be surrounded by open-minded people who can change their mind if they're presented with. It's fun to be around people that believe the same thing that you do, because then your brain's not working. You know what I mean? Like, I personally like to be with people that challenge my brain and challenge my thoughts. And, you know, I'm also the type of person that, like, if somebody changes my mind, I don't have an ego, and I'm like, yeah, actually, you know what? You're right. I'm going to think like that, which I understand is very rare right now. Yeah. That's not something people do right now, you know, but I am that kind of person where, like, I'm okay being wrong. I've had some of the best conversations, like, in my life with people who I disagreed with, but they're just open-minded people. We just had good conversations, and I learned a lot from them about where they're coming from. Yeah, I think it's good. And I'm starting to get better at that. It's been a hard 4 years of talking about stuff, not talking about stuff, or not, you know, I don't know, making judgment. Because I'm mostly talking about my family. Sure. But I feel like we've come a long way, because my family is they're a lot more chill now than they used to be. Yeah, same for me. Yeah, I think that just happens with time. Yeah, I guess it's just easier to let off the gas when your kids are older, you know, because it's just like, well, who they are is who they are, and there's nothing I can really do about that anymore, you know, like that kind of thing. But, like, I've learned a lot of things about my own family that I never would have learned. Like, for example, you know, this is such a dumb thing, but, like, I had this conversation with my dad a few weeks ago, and he was like, we were talking about about something. I forget exactly what it was, but it had something to do with, like, you know, being in entertainment and, like, all these different kinds of things. And then I used this metaphor of like if I were homosexual, you wouldn't let me live in your house. And he just stopped me immediately, and he said, yes, I would. And I said, no, you wouldn't, because, like, the person I knew 10 years ago wouldn't have. Yeah. And he was like, yes, I would. You're my son. I love you. There's no reason why I would not let you live in my house because you were gay. And it just, like, opened my mind, where I was like, holy crap, man, my dad, like, you know, of course it doesn't mean anything. I mean, I'm not gay. Like, it doesn't matter, you know, but at the same time, I was like, man, that is so, you know, and again, going back to like, if you do believe in Jesus and living like Jesus, like, that is Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus is that person that would be like, I'm not going to kick you out of my house because of that, because of something dumb like that. Like, yeah, at the end of the day, I love you, this, that, and the other thing, you know. And to certain people that might sound dumb, but to me, it was a really eye-opening moment, you know, for me. And I actually remember apologizing to my father and telling him that I've
judged him so much for being closed-minded and like all these different kinds of things when I never knew how open-minded he was, actually. Sometimes, especially as an adult, it is kind of interesting to have those conversations with your parents, because you might learn something really cool about them, you know. Sometimes you won't, you know, and it'll be scary, you know, but
I found out recently my parents are actually like, you know, I was asking them, like, do you think that you can be gay and Christian? Do you think that you can be like socialist and Christian? Like, do you think that you can be pro-choice and Christian and like all these things? And they were like, it's not up to us to, you know, say what or not, what isn't, like what doesn't make a Christian. It's like the only problem is that I think there's some things they still say are a sin, but it's not. So it's like it's not our place to judge people who are sinners, but they're sinners for me. And it's also like if someone's born gay, it's okay, but if someone is like not born gay and they act like they're gay, that's bad. So it's complicated. It's confusing, but it doesn't really leave much room for me because I'm bisexual, and I don't think they see that as a valid thing. It's like I must be doing it for attention or something. I don't know. They don't know that I am. So, but I think that that's how they kind of feel about it. But I don't know because I haven't come out to them yet.
Sure.
But I think it's just. I think to them it would be confusing because they would probably say, well, you never acted like it. And it just, being bisexual, it's easy to kind of suppress one side, the side that's not accepted by society. And then you also end up dealing with a lot of like internalized, you know, issues with like, it's hard for me to have a relationship with a woman because I have all this internalized issues and stuff. And so it's not necessarily like, it's just different. It's complicated. And it's hard. I don't know how I would explain that.
To be fair, like going back to, you know, you never acted like it. What does that even mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like because of the way that I speak, the way that I act, the way that I dress, people are surprised that I'm straight. You know what I mean? Like, and I have to tell them, and they're just, and you know, but it's like, but who cares? Like, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
Like, why does me having a feminine voice or deciding to take a shower and wearing clothes that fit my body, you know, like, why do I have to look like a pig for you to think that I like women? You know what I mean? Like, that's stupid. Right? It's stupid that you think that. This episode of Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes is brought to you by the Crunch Cup. Save time in the morning by taking your cereal on the go. Simply add cereal to the inner cup, milk into the outer cup, screw on the lid, and you're ready to crunch. Eat cereal in the car, at your desk, or anywhere else you want. Go to thecrunchcup.com to purchase what I think is a genius invention and use the discount code MikeValdes10. That's Mike, M-I-K-E, Valdes, V-A-L-D-E-S, the number 10, to save 10% off of your order. You can also sign up for their monthly giveaway to win a year's supply of cereal. So what are you waiting for? Go to thecrunchcup.com and use promo code MikeValdes10 to save 10% off of your order. The Crunch Cup. It's better than spooning. This episode of Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes is brought to you by Real Good Foods. I am so excited to announce that Real Good Foods has launched their very first dessert item, ice cream. Real Good Ice Cream is the first ever super premium better for you ice cream. It's extra creamy, so there's no icy or chalky texture like other light ice creams, making it a real ice cream experience with real ingredients. Only 180 calories and 4 grams of sugar per serving. Real Good ice cream is sweetened by using allulose, which isn't like regular sugar. It's a naturally occurring rare sweetener found in figs, dates, and maple syrup. Ultimately, it has 1/10 the calories of cane sugar, which means it won't spike your blood sugar levels. Real Good ice cream comes in a variety of flavors, and starting today, they can be found at realgoodfoods.com and the Vitamin Shop. And guess what? Real Good Foods is giving all Childlike at Best listeners a discount code that'll make us all scream for ice cream. Visit realgoodfoods.com, choose as many of your favorite items, and use promo code BESTIE at checkout. That's BESTIE at checkout to receive 15% off your order. Real Good Foods. Keep it real. Moving on, I wanna do something a little lighter.
Okay.
What were your favorite snacks growing up?
My favorite snacks?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Any kind of cheese crackers.
Okay. Nice.
Those little Ritz sandwich crackers?
Sure.
I haven't thought about this in a long time.
Ritz crackers and cheese? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it weird that you don't remember it, but I remember even the commercials for it? I remember all of it?
I don't remember seeing commercials. Yeah. I wasn't allowed to watch a whole lot of TV.
Sure.
Growing up. The thing that I ate the most of was watermelon.
Sure.
My mom would go to the store and get 6 watermelons for the week, and it was pretty much just for me, but I was in charge of cutting all of them, but it was a lot of watermelon.
Holy cow.
I don't know. Now I can't think of anything. There's just these things that sort of just remind me of childhood now. There's all these
sure.
There's we couldn't have ice cream, but we could have Italian ices. So those lemon ices was a big thing. Yeah, we just didn't have a lot of
That's so funny. It's those parents that won't let you have candy, but they would let you have mints.
Yeah.
So it's kids would just have mints by the handful.
Oh yeah, or Kicks or something where you're just just give me the good stuff.
Yeah, that's that Donald Glover joke where he's it's the hand job of cereals.
Yes.
Because it's good, but you know what I really want.
And they didn't that was a joke where it was put the Cocoa Puff and mixed it in with the Kicks, and it looked like a Kanye concert.
It was like a Kanye concert, yeah. My mom did that. She had those cereal containers, and she would do that. So I related to that quite a bit, actually.
Yeah. We didn't have a whole lot of sugary stuff, but I whenever I went to my grandparents, I would just gorge myself on candy and sugar and any kind of sour candy, which now I don't even know why I like sour candy. It hurts my mouth.
Yeah, the citric acid.
It's just hurting myself.
It's acid. That's why it hurts.
God, that's awful.
Why does fire burn?
Why does fire burn? I'm allergic to a lot of things. I'm celiac, so no gluten. Oh, wow. And I was diagnosed with that 13 years ago, I think. So it's been a while. So no gluten, and there's just a lot of stuff that I just can't eat. And so that was, I was sick a lot, just stomach aches a lot growing up.
I guess in a way, it's kind of good that you were homeschooled. Could you imagine like being at school with all those stomach aches and like people are like, I don't want to sit next to her. She's going to fart all over me. Like,
yeah, right.
You're like, I have celiac disease. And it's like, okay, but it smells. So I don't really care what it's called.
I would have been bullied so much. I know I was spared from so much torment thanks to my mom. I am very grateful for that. Right. I know I would have been bullied a lot. I was a very weird kid. And I was even bullied by other kids from church.
Sure.
But I deserved it. I was I was kind of a brat for a little bit. I feel bad about that now, but I grew out of it, I guess.
Yeah, we all kind of do, hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Were you a cereal fan? Were you allowed to have cereal?
Yeah.
What cereals did you have? What were you a fan of?
Lucky Charms.
Okay.
No, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is like the go-to.
That's everyone's go-to.
So good. It's
the
so
LSD
good.
of cereal.
It's so good. That would be like what I would want as like if I could pick as a kid, or like Cocoa Krispies.
Well, I ask because every episode of this podcast, I like to review a box of cereal with my guest.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I know it's kind of difficult to do that because we're Zoom conferencing and everything, but I've thought of a way of doing it, and we'll see how it works. But I chose a very specific cereal for you because I like to get cereals that have something to do with my guest in some way, shape, or form. So I spoke with my sponsors at General Mills. Now, by sponsor, I mean that I like them and I buy all of their products. And by spoke to, I mean that I tweeted them repeatedly and they never got back to me. So the cereal that I got for you is Lucky Charms cereal.
Lucky Charms.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Now, the reason why I got this for you is because it is the most astrological cereal that I could think of.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair, yeah. It's magical.
It is very magical. It has it has all different types of personality types as marshmallows.
I should do like the signs as Lucky Charms.
You know what? I'm so glad that you thought that, because that is 100% what I was going to do with you right now.
Okay, great. On the same wavelength.
We're on the same page. Okay, so I'm trying to see what these I mean, at the end of the day, I know the songs, so I'll know these in my head. Yeah. Okay, so there's hearts, stars, horseshoes, clovers, and blue moons, pots of golden rainbows, and me red balloons. Okay, so
wow. Well, the heart one has to be like Libra.
Okay.
Because I always just associate them with the color pink, because I just feel like they're just very, like, I don't know, I think it's just because I like the color pink. Sure. It's like, I think they're very, like, charming and, like, kind of, wait, what's your sign?
I'm a Sagittarius.
Sagittarius, okay.
Yeah, I'm such a Sag.
Fire signs so
I don't know what any of this means.
That's fine. Libras are like, they're just kind of like pretty things, and Taurus too. I've kind of put them both, like Libra and Taurus.
Yeah.
For the heart. Or maybe, I don't know. Wait, how many marshmallows are there? How many can you each
There's a few. There's hearts, stars, horseshoes, clovers, blue moons, pots, gold, rainbows, red balloons, and there's a unicorn one now. So there's
my god, a unicorn!
There's a unicorn one now. So there's 9.
Wow, 9.
There's at least 9.
Okay, wow, okay. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, the pot of gold has to be Taurus, because like Taurus is like notoriously they like
money.
It's not that they care about money. They like to be comfortable. Who doesn't? But that's just like what they're known for. I guess Capricorns too. The moon would have to be Pisces. That feels right. Balloon has to be an air sign, so I'm gonna say Aquarius. They're just kind of quirky, like a balloon. Balloons are quirky.
What's weird is like, Aquarius sounds like it would be a water sign.
I know, it confuses a lot of people, but yeah, it's an air sign. But like the symbol is, their symbol is like a water bearer. Okay. So that's like their symbol, but they are an air sign. But I'd say they're kind of watery air sign. You know, each sign is kind of like a Scorpio is like, or Aries is kind of like a fiery Scorpio. They're all kind of like variations of each other. And they're really similar. So yeah, a lot of people get very uptight about their sign, but sure. There's a lot of different qualities that go with each one. But stereotypically, that's what I deal with, because that's what everybody knows, and it's like not always true, but it's fun because it's just astrology.
Yeah, of course. What about the horseshoe? What would the horseshoe be?
Horseshoe has to be Aries, because they're competitive, but also they're free-spirited, like a horse.
What about the unicorn?
Unicorn. See, now I'm thinking that should be Aquarius, because Aquarians are like, they're the unique one. Maybe the balloon should be Gemini, and then Aquarius should be the unicorn. The unicorn's throwing me off, man.
That's crazy.
Too much going on. A unicorn, marshmallow, and Lucky Charms.
We don't have to think about it too much. It's a limited time marshmallow. We can move on.
The origins of the universe. Yeah. And Lucky Charms marshmallow, same thing. My brain just cannot comprehend these things. It's not right.
Shooting stars?
That would have to be Leo. Probably Leo and Sag, because they're both kind of like center of attention type of people. I think a lot of celebrities are Sag and Leo specifically.
And then there's the 4-leaf clovers. So who's the luckiest, I guess?
Who's the luckiest one? I guess Cancer. They're not very lucky. They got the worst name.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They
not very
have
lucky.
Cancer.
It's so sad.
You're the luckiest one. You have Cancer.
Yeah, that's not very lucky. That sucks. I feel bad for them, honestly. They're like, I don't want to buy a shirt, like, because, you know, like, I have something that says Aries on it. Like, I wish I could have a shirt with my zodiac sign on it, but I don't want a shirt that says Cancer.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever feel bad for people that are Cancers, and then there's like people that have other people that have shirts that say F Cancer on their their shirts, and they're like, oh man, that's me.
Yeah. Maybe that's why they're so sensitive about it when I'm like, I poke fun at them.
Yeah.
I get really upset. Yeah, my Cancer followers get really mad when I say anything bad about their...
The way that I like to look at it is that you can't truly love something if you can't make fun of it. It's just proof of how much you love it because you're making fun of it.
Yeah. I feel that way about astrology a lot.
Yeah. Like I have a 5-minute bit about Full House that I do on stage. And anyone who likes Full House would never watch that bit and go, man, that guy hates Full House. Like, there's no way.
That's so true. Like, I like to make fun of stuff that I love.
Of course. That's like the ultimate way of showing that you love somebody or love something, you know, even though sometimes it can be mean, you know, but whatever, you know, people take things the way they take it, you know. I think those are all the marshmallows. We did it.
I hope I didn't miss a sign.
We probably did. There's only 9 marshmallows, and there's how many signs? There's 12?
There's 12, yeah.
So we had to have missed some.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm sure there's going to be some BuzzFeed article that is going to prove us wrong, you know, in some way, shape, or form.
There always is.
So, but anyway, Lucky Charms cereal, ladies and gentlemen, they said it couldn't be done, and they were probably right, but we did it. So I kind of want to move into what you're doing with tch.rising and all that kind of stuff. So like, what started that?
Well, I'm a writer and I've been in LA for like 5 years. So I've just been doing a lot of writing jobs, a lot of thankless sort of things and just free stuff, just working, you know.
In LA? That doesn't seem likely.
I know, right?
That seems like such a place where you would get thanked all the time.
Yeah.
And paid for it too.
Yeah. Truly. Like it's hard. It's hard.
I know.
Yeah.
I lived there for a little while as well. It's a nightmare town for sure.
So I was just feeling like I wanted to just do something creative, and I just like making people laugh. And I don't know, I just saw some astrology accounts. I'm like, this is like fun. Like people are having fun with it, and they're kind of making fun of it, you know. And I was like, I can do that. That's easy. So I just started just making memes. And it's sort of like when you're starting like a meme account, I'm sure it's like for any sort of thing where you're putting content out there, it's like sort of humiliating because you're just like, I'm making this and I want people to see it, but like no one. It's kind of like why people like post TikToks and then if it doesn't get enough likes, they like take it down and repost it. It's like, it's embarrassing when it doesn't get sort of the engagement that you want it to get. So it's hard to get past that hump, and that hump was like a year because it took like a year to kind of get, I think, 80,000 followers. And then there was a tipping point last summer where I did this like meme series that people really liked, and it got really big. And so now it's been 2.5 years, and I have 460,000 followers, I think. And I hate every single one of them. No, I'm just kidding. They're great.
You hear that? She hates you.
Well, no, there's a lot of really. I've gotten so much good feedback. I just always pay attention to the bad reactions.
Of course. That's the way it always works, unfortunately. It's like 10 people can say something amazing and one person says something horrible, and that's the person you think about.
Exactly. You know? Yeah. I really like making people laugh, and I've learned over the past, 6 months or so how I can incorporate like social justice into my Instagram, and I'm kind of just figuring that out, like how to get information out and get people to vote, get people to learn about different things. And it's hard because the more, sort of activism that you do, the more hate you're going to get. A lot of people telling you to kill yourself and that sort of thing. But for the most part, it's good. And I've been able to do a lot of stuff and raise money. And yeah, it's been great. I created like side accounts that are just sort of, I'm really trying to figure out how to get men into astrology. So maybe you can help me.
Sure, I can try.
I'm really like, the funny thing too, it's funny that you said earlier about people just being like, you care about cleanliness, so you must be gay.
Right.
But it's like, I always feel like I end up being like friends with like if I'm friends with a straight man, it's like always a straight man that's like, people are like, is he gay? Right. Because I feel like people always say that because like they're non-threatening.
Sure.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
It's like
which is what men should be, by the way.
Yeah.
Men should not be threatening to women whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's not a thing. What I'm doing is the correct thing.
Yeah, exactly. People think that you must like. Yeah. I don't know, but
God forbid you respect people for who they are.
Yeah,
Jesus
right?
Christ.
It's a good thing, but I think that astrology is feminine, and I want to know like how to get men into it. Also, because I can't really say a lot about it, but I'm working on a new app that's like a dating app for astrology. Okay. I'm coming on like as like a consultant and like social media manager type thing.
Awesome.
Which I can't really talk a whole lot about, but I'm like, how do you get men into that sort of thing? Like you need, like, if there's a lot of straight women on the app, you need straight men. You'd think that it'd be easy because like there's all these women here. There'll only be a few men because there's a lot of men who think it's too feminine. But you could be like, you know, I don't know how to do that crossover with. It
is kind of difficult.
Straight men don't make sense.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, and if it does make any sense, like maybe not in, the meme of it all, but when it comes to my personal brand and like who I am as a performer and as an artist and things like that, my music has always skewed more towards female fans because guys don't like talking about their feelings. You know what I mean? Like, and to me, that's like what I love. Like, I love vulnerability, you know, and nothing is more real to me than that. I love listening to music that makes me feel. Unless I'm at the gym, like, I don't really want to be angry. You know what I mean? Like, because then when you're at the gym, you can use that anger to like punch a punching bag. You know, I don't want to like be angry at like people or anything like that. And the same thing with my comedy. You know, as a stand-up, I have a 5-minute bit about Disney princesses. The idea is like you can kind of tell what kind of a girl that a guy is into in real life by what Disney princess he's attracted to. Because guys are attracted to Disney princesses, you know? Okay. And so, like, for example, if he likes Ariel, he likes redheads with daddy issues, and he's hoping that you stop talking. If he likes Pocahontas, he likes taking things that aren't his and claiming they were his in the first place, you know? And if he likes Frozen, he likes boys, you know? So, like, again, I'm saying this joke to my audience. Like, like most women are like, this joke is great. And, and guys are like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, so like, I completely get it. Like, I'm in the minority. I think part of it is because I grew up without a dad for a really long time, like until I was like 8 or 9. And then, my stepfather, who came into the picture, also grew up without a dad, so he was very sensitive. So being sensitive and being vulnerable wasn't a thing to be frowned upon. Like, if you had feelings, feel them. You know,
that's why it's all about like socialization is such an important part to it, where it's like I tell people, because a lot of people are like, you're such a man hater, Alyssa. Like, if I say like I hate men, like really, it's really just a test, because like like the bad ones that you want to stay away from are like, oh, not all men. Yeah. Like, obviously I'm not talking about all men.
By the way, I am a man and I hate men too.
That's like the right answer. Like, that's what the right answer should be.
That's what it is. Like, it's, I understand why women are scared of men because I'm scared of men too. Yeah. Like, that's just what it is.
Yeah. When it comes to like being murdered too, men are more likely to get murdered.
Yeah.
By men, like, because they're always like, men are more likely to get murdered than women. Like, yeah, by men. Like, yeah. What's not clicking?
Yeah, it's that's Joe Rogan does a joke like that where he's like, you know, oh, well, men get sexually harassed too. And he's like, yeah, by other men, you moron.
Mm-hmm. Because like a lot of guys are like, I wouldn't mind being like, you know, hit on. Like, yeah, you would mind if it was a creepy old man like what we get.
Yeah.
You know? Like, you would hate that.
Well, that's the thing. You're only creepy if that girl doesn't find you attractive. Like, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
You know, and not to mention, 9 times out of 10, unless you're Brad Pitt, and even sometimes when you are Brad Pitt, if you walk up to a girl at a bar and say something like it has nothing to do with anything, like it's just like, hey, nice boobs or something. Yeah. No woman is going to be like, come meet my parents. Like, no one's going to say that. Men are weird, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't think, femininity just shouldn't be demonized. A lot of men complain like, well, we're not allowed to express our emotions. Like, that's because our society demonizes femininity. And that's like, it's worse for us than it is for you because we're just seen as feminine. You just can't do feminine things. Like, we're just feminine. Even if we don't dress feminine, we're just feminine, therefore bad. Like, therefore not as good, not, less than. So, so it's like that's the thing about the patriarchy is that it's bad for everybody. We'd all be better off without it. Not just women, but just everybody. So I don't know what they're so scared of. And I think also another thing too is that a lot of women are conditioned or socialized to say that they're to not be attracted any sort of femininity in men. So it's also like they don't want, it's just not considered attractive. And I think it's sort of coming around. There's like the whole trend of like, what is it, like femboys? So. Yeah, just be like, men should just be like more feminine. It would be good for them. Yeah,
that's been me my whole life, and I feel like that's been like the hardest thing for me. I mean, a lot of things, because like growing up a Christian male doesn't really help because I was scared of women until I was 25. But
but side hugs will do you a lifetime of side hugs.
Yeah, you're scared. I always found that so weird, man. Like anybody that dated in church or like in youth group or anything, like I even tell my parents. I told them recently, like I was like, I find it really strange that there's no like for example, like when you're in your early 20s or whatever, most people are single. So like they'll go to like a singles group or whatever at church. And most people that are 18 that have been in church their whole lives are married already. And they've been married. By the time they're 24, they're already divorced. So it's just like, yeah, you might meet girls at a singles group, but they're divorced and have kids. Like, and so it's like, okay, can I just get like a regular girl? like not that the other ones aren't regular. It's just like, my gosh, man.
That's just that's a lot of baggage to have as a young person.
Right. And so like, it's. Yeah,
I know people that are just a year or two older than me who have been married, divorced, and remarried. Mm-hmm. And I haven't gotten married once. They've already done it twice. I'm like, what? How? I don't. It's a lot of pressure from the church.
Yeah. Which I don't know.
Feel bad for them.
I mean,
and all these Christians getting married during COVID because they want to have sex so bad. It's like, it's not, don't spread COVID because you want to fuck. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
I get it. Yep. My sister was one of those people. So you got to do what you got to do. Either you're spreading it because you want to, or you're spreading it because you already have and you feel bad about it. So,
eloping works.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. That is fair enough.
It happens.
I have just a couple last questions for you, and you can kind of take them however you want. You can answer them as comedically or vulnerably, however you want. There's no wrong answer to these questions. And the first question is, what advice would you give to the child version of yourself now?
Oh, that's such a good question, because I've been thinking about it so much lately. I've been thinking just like how I want to be like the person that I needed.
Yeah.
As a kid. I wish I could just show myself how big the world was, because I just didn't know how big it was. It just, everything, little things seem so important. Then you just realize how minuscule it is in the real world. But I know it was small, my world was small in order to protect me, but I think it went on too long. But I would just be like, don't worry so much. And I would tell myself, how the fuck do you think I'm supposed to do that? Like, I know I'm not supposed to worry. Like, my mom's always like, just, train your brain, train your mind to like, get rid of. I'm like, I have mental illness. Yeah. My brain doesn't do what I want it to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would just tell myself, you're normal and you're going to get through this. I think a big thing would just be like, you're normal. Like,
Yeah.
I would want to say to myself as a kid.
Of course.
Like, I mean, you're weird, but in a good way. You're not normal you're not like abnormal in a bad way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I see where you're coming from when it comes to being young and having a mental illness and not knowing that you have one, and having depression and anxiety and not knowing what's wrong with you, and feeling like everything is wrong with you, and then your parents or the church or whatever are telling you that you shouldn't be feeling this way because you're a believer, and because you're a believer you shouldn't have anxiety and all these different kinds of things, but you can't stop it because there's a chemical imbalance in your brain and you can't stop it. There's nothing wrong with you. You know, it's at least for me, I had to see like 15 different pastors telling me, you know, oh, you know why you have anxiety? Because you can't stop jerking off. Like, it's like, all right, dude, like.
No one said that to me, but they should have.
Like, that's what it was. That's what it was for me.
Right.
That's what it was for me. Like,
they never say that to girls.
Say what? No? They would never say that to girls?
They never say that to girls, but so it's crazy that's just like a go-to.
That's 100% every, you know, because my parents would never send me to an actual therapist. They would only send me to pastors. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know if you had the same happen to you, but I never. A long time.
Yeah, before I was allowed to see a therapist.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And even then, when they would let me see therapists, the therapist had to be a Christian.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I'm not even joking, Alyssa. Like, I don't think I was properly diagnosed with anxiety until maybe 3 years of having panic attacks.
Oh my God.
Thinking that I was just having heart attacks. You know, like,
I remember the first time someone, like a doctor was like, do you have panic attacks? And I was like, I don't know what is a panic attack. And they're like explaining it to me and I'm like, oh yeah, all the time.
That heart attack feeling that I have where I feel like I'm going to die? Yeah. I have that all the time.
Normal.
Yeah. And so finally I just, at some point I'm pretty sure this is exactly what I told my dad. I was like, I don't want to see another pastor to tell me that jerking off is going to stop me from having anxiety, because that's not what it is. Like, I stopped jerking off and it didn't help. But yeah,
that's really tough.
To go back into that whole thing, to mirror what you were saying, nothing wrong with you. You're completely normal. It's okay to be weird. Lean into your weirdness. That's what makes you normal. That's what makes you unique. In fact, the people that are normal to you are going to seem so boring 10 years from now. You know?
Yeah, they're so basic. Yeah. You're like, you want to impress them. Yeah. They're going to end up like, they're not going to do anything.
They're peaking now.
Yeah. I did not, like, when I was in high school, and my sister was like, I mean, as popular as you can be, like, in a church, like, my sister was very popular and I was not at all.
Yeah.
And because I didn't even talk about, like, the whole I Kiss Dating Goodbye of it all.
Oh, no. You read that book?
I had to, like, I wasn't allowed to read it, but like my parents read it. And so the teachings were inflicted upon me.
Sure.
I never had anyone, like, you know, if anyone even, like, cause you'd have to, like, ask the dad for permission to, like, court the daughter. And it's like, no one asked my dad about me, which was fine, because I was like, if anyone asked my dad, I would be so humiliated. I don't want anyone talking to my dad. That's horrifying. But then I was also like, why is no one asked they'd always be like, well, Caitlin got another one. Like,
I had to notarize another thing for Caitlin.
Yeah, like, another one. Sorry, Caitlin. She's like,
come on, man.
That was funny. But also I was like, I just wasn't, like, you know, I wasn't the nurturing sort of Christian wife type. And I think that's what they were looking for. Like, even as a kid, like, you know, teenage girls would, like, walk around with someone's babies to, like, show off how, you know, they would be like how they would make a good mom. And be like, that's so creepy.
That is creepy as balls.
But yeah, that was I asked my friends, some evangelical friends recently, if they felt that way too. And they were like, yeah. I was like, okay, I thought that was just I only thought that was weird to me, but yeah, that's a normal thing, I guess. It's a normal thing people say, I guess. Maybe. I don't know what guys talk about.
I mean, mostly just women. That's usually what it is. Like, it's just like,
oh, God.
it's, I'm sure it's changed in the past like 5 years to like something about gaming now, but it's mostly about those things for the most part. But yeah, what was I going to say? Oh, the last question that I have for you, what do you think the child version of yourself would think of who you are now? Would they be impressed by you? Would they be happy about who you are?
They'd be really happy because like there's a lot of ways that I live my life now the way that I wanted to as like a teenager, and I was never able to.
That's great.
And that's really fun that I get to live out my childhood, just like even just, listening to the music that I want and watching movies that I want. It's so, even the little things, like they mean so much to me because like growing up, we had clean films, which basically like shortened movies by taking out all the bad stuff, and Gangs of New York was like 15 minutes long. Yeah. And like, that's what I grew up with. And so like everything feels good, but I also just like, I just feel like all the things that I wanted from life. Like, I feel like, just being on my own and like not screwing up my life so much that I never wanted to be a sort of cautionary tale for Christians to be like, well, she left the church and she, her life got fucked up because of it. Cause like, so I'm like, I just have to like, be a successful and like, or successful in like, in the way I think, and not just like, money wise or like in a, a capitalist sense, just being happy and doing exactly what I want to do and not without her, doing exactly what I want to do without hurting anybody and being able to help people when I can is exactly what I want to be doing, what I wanted as a kid. And yeah, so I think that, not to brag, but I think my younger self would be like, yeah, she's pretty cool.
I mean, I'm asking you this because I want you to brag. I want you to brag. I want you to say good things about yourself, because we forget to like pat ourselves on the back for the work that we've done sometimes. And I feel like it's one of the reasons why, I've done a little over 50 episodes of this podcast, and I've been asking this question maybe only the last 10 episodes. That once I came up with it, I was like, this is it. Like, this is what I need to ask people, because it just embodies everything that I feel is important, at least to me, because it's like, you need to remember you always need to remember where you came from. Which is extremely important because it shapes who you are now. And also you need to praise what it is that you have done, and seeing yourself from that little kid who doesn't know what the future is and doesn't understand whatever the case, but we'll see what you're doing and say, wow, like, even what might seem so mundane to you, like you're just like, like I say this all the time, but like as an actor, I'll do an audition and I'm like, man, I have to do this freaking audition. I have to wake up at 8:00 to do this dumb audition. I'm probably not even going to get it or whatever. The childhood version of myself would say, dude, you're getting an audition? They're a working actor? That's amazing. But that's the kid version, so like that's why you have to remind yourself like you're doing amazing things, and sometimes it's difficult, within the world, especially like social media and everything, because really social media is just like a greatest hits album. Like, it's just like, these are all the great things that I've done. Nobody ever talks about all the horrible crap that's happening in their life. It is extremely important to remember those things. It's all ebbs and flows. It's all hills and valleys.
That's so true. Yeah.
That's it. This has been so fun. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Also, I do want to say that I just started a podcast.
Yeah.
So it's called Hollywood Signs.
Hollywood Signs?
Yeah, we just dropped the first episode and we just talk. We're just going to have guest astrologers on, and we're going to talk about specific birth charts for celebrities.
That's awesome.
Find out what time they're born, and they have their sun, moon, rising, all the different placements. And so it's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be educational. It's you can learn stuff about yourself, and yeah, it's fun.
That's great. Yeah. So Hollywood Signs, that's the podcast. And then where can people find you online?
My personal is Space Glam, like Space Jam, but it's glam. That's
a great handle.
I love it. It's been my handle for a long time, and it's my go-to because I don't like to put my first and last name on anywhere on my social media.
Yeah.
I'm just like a private person sometimes. Tch.rising on Instagram, Horny Astrology, and Stoner Zodiac are also my handles for other types of astrology stuff. And I'm trying to think what else. I have so much stuff going on. I think that's it. And Bitch Rising on Twitter. I still don't have the Bitch Rising handle. It's BTCH. I don't have the I. I want that I.
Yeah, it's
really
weird.
Frustrating.
The Twitter is weird, man. There's a at Mike Valdes that hasn't tweeted since 2003. And I've been,
that's not fair.
Yeah, I've been asking Twitter for that handle forever, and they're like, "You're not famous. We don't give a crap about you." And I'm all right, dude. So Twitter's real weird. Follow Alyssa on all that stuff on bitch.rising, the podcast Hollywood Signs. And then for me, you can follow me on Instagram at Mike Valdes, on Twitter at I am Mike Valdes. You can go to whoismikevaldes.com to find out the answer to that question. You can listen to my music there, my stand-up, all that stuff. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't lose your sense of childlike wonder. Bye, besties. That was a Geek Bro podcast. For more podcasts like this one, visit geekbro.net.